Let's talk about Bryan Danielson here. Two things. Number one, we did not see the full interview. I'll get to that in a second. They showed a clip of him talking to Renee, which is like 2 degrees of me because they did Talking Smack before I did. And the beloved version. I get that. But they're just talking. And I think it's, part of Renee's thing. And then Jeff comes in. And you saw RJ watching from the side. And Jeff comes in. And he talks to Bryan Danielson. And he talks about how he was the right guy to win. But if he's going to beat Swerve, he's got to get better. Like, he challenged Bryan. You need to be a better place mentally. You need to be in a better place physically. You got to heal up. You got to get ready to go. And it was such a good promo. This version of Jeff Jarrett, this self-reflective veteran who's been through it all, who knows what you have to do, who knows what he's done, but at this point right now has become this conscious of AEW. And it's almost like he had to do all those other things with the majority of his career being as a heel to go, you know what? I did all those things. It doesn't mean others have to. And I'm not going to let people go. It's almost like he doesn't want to let people go down the path that he did. And thinking of his friend, thinking of Owen, has allowed him to have some perspective on how to handle things. Now, the great part about all of this is because it's Jeff Jarrett, is we're all expecting at any point in time him to hit a baby face with a guitar, and it's all about Jeff. And you know what? That probably will happen at some point. But that could happen in 6 months. That could happen down the road when he's already almost the idea of what they wanted to do with Cole and MJF. MJF let his guard down that much that the whole time Adam Cole was pressing all the buttons. It didn't come through in execution, whatever, but I feel like when Jeff does turn, at that point, he will be such a long-term babyface that it will matter. And he tells Bryan that. And Bryan says to Renee, I got some work to do. And I like that Jeff's story arc that started at the Owen is continuing and still matters. And then we see him come out later and be the conscience, be the enforcer, be the guy that's not going to let things go the wrong way. And let him break a guitar in Tennessee because that's Jeff. But then this morning, they released the full cut. And Renee says, hey, I heard your contract's up soon. And he said, this is very specific wording. My wrestling contract is up on August 1st. Now, there's been talk that, he's got creative and he was on that committee and you can't tweet stuff and all that. I don't know if he's got 2 deals, but he said his wrestling contract is up on August 1st. And he said, I'm not going to MJF it. I'm not going to try and squeeze him out for money. And I believe that. This is the same Bryan Danielson that when he was a WWE talent was on Colt Cabana's podcast and said, don't worry about my shirts. Go buy sustainable cotton or whatever. Like he literally, and Colt's like, what are you doing throwing money away? Colt, who's a t-shirt master, 1 hour tees, pro wrestling tees. He was going like, what are you telling people? And that's Bryan. Bryan doesn't live an extravagant life. He's made a lot of money. But you know what? It's not like he lives the life of that salary. And I believe that the fact that he said, well, Tony talked about it, so I'll talk about it. So now you've added another layer to the story because he's saying this is my last shot. Well, my last shot was I had to win the Owen, and he did. And now he's looking at the main event for the AEW World Championship, a championship that has evaded him. A championship that he's saying, this is it, because I'm not going to wrestle full-time after this year. And now you're saying the contract's up. So now he has a reason to walk away. And I think that's the story. Swerve can finish Bryan Danielson. as a babyface, he could put that on his resume. I sent him out. You can tell that story. Now, I think what should happen, because they've addressed it, because they put it on their social media, is that Tony Khan and Bryan Danielson should have some kind of segment on a show where there is a handshake agreement. And Bryan will say, listen, I know we didn't plan it this way. I wouldn't have even, I wouldn't have known. And he undercuts himself sometimes. I wouldn't even expected to be in this spot. And here I am. They have a handshake agreement because that's what Bryan Danielson would do. They have a handshake agreement that will last. And think of the CM Punk thing. His contract ended on that night. The handshake agreement is, I am done. I am done regardless of what happens at Wembley. You can do that. And here's why I think you can do that. You give him the handshake agreement. Swerve now has the chance to send Bryan away. Not in a bad way, but to get that win. To say he beat Bryan Danielson, who missed Wembley last year. Swerve can say he did that. That's on his resume forever. And Bryan Danielson gets to go out in the main event and listen, he's lost plenty of big matches before. This would just be another one, and they'll have a great match. But I think he's going to win. And if you tell the story of Bryan Danielson winning the championship at Wembley, and then say that on Wednesday, he's going to give up that title because he's done. His contract is up. That can happen. And without getting into specifics, and I'm not going to do spoilers, and I'm asking everybody right now, if you know the results of Rampage and who won the Royal Rampage Battle Royal for the number one contender spot at Grand Slam, which is after Wembley, do not put it in there. And if you do, we'll ban you. So just don't do it. Because it is a big... I get it. Rampage, typically not a lot of big stuff happens. When a world title shot is on the line and you don't want to know the answer, you don't want to know the outcome, let's keep it away. Tomorrow night is going to be an important show to watch. But I would have Danielson win it all in and come out on that Wednesday. And whoever, hopefully a babyface, is next up and has won that number one contender spot, says, wait a minute, you can't leave. You still have to face me. And that keeps him around. And it's almost like Danielson can't leave with the championship. Too many people will talk him back into staying around. Now, the date that's been circled for a lot of us, and maybe for Danielson himself, is October 12th. Tacoma, Washington, Wrestle Dream. It's where he's from. I would have him keep the title till October 12th. I would have Swerve get his rematch. Two guys from the Pacific Northwest having a match at a show called Wrestle Dream. And that is how you send Bryan Danielson out as a full-time performer. It's a good story. They have a really nice road that they can take to make a big deal out of this and making their championship mean a lot. And you can make some people along the way. We'll see if they do that. I'm not saying they have to. There's other ways to go. But I would love that to happen. Hey, this is Matt Camp. Thanks for checking out one of our recent clips from the Wrestling Mat. Why is someone so close to The Rock kind of throwing Cody under the bus?
Yeah, a lot of people won't engage with Jim Cornette. I did, just because I have a mark for Jim Cornette. And
Please subscribe right now. Hit the like and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And I think you should listen to your TV partners. Let me tell you about WWE and a little insight. More subscribers means more content. And make sure you follow us on social media at WrestlingMat23 on both Twitter and Instagram.